Today, I want to help you understand the power of short-term rentals and how they can be an absolute game changer for you to build wealth in real estate. Why are short-term rentals one of the most powerful strategies in all of real estate investing? In this video, I'm going to detail out how short-term rentals have been a game changer for building wealth and securing funds when it comes to real estate investing. And I want to explain to you how they can set you up for financial independence. The interest to own and operate short-term rentals over the last decade have exploded. But some data that is coming out is saying that short-term rentals have maybe their time is past, and that some owners of short-term rentals are actually struggling. With all the conflicting messages out there, it is really hard to discern what is true and what is false. Well, stay with me because in this video, I want to separate fact from fiction and give you the meat and potatoes of short-term rentals when it comes to real estate investing. I first want to explain to you why I'm such a big believer in short-term rentals, what they are, why they've become so popular, along with how I got started in that world. Secondly, I want to help you understand how to evaluate some of the best areas to own and operate short-term rentals, but also how to analyze them from a financial standpoint and how to run them so they really flourish. And finally, I want to explain to you how this strategy of owning short-term rentals could really benefit you as a real estate investor in the long run. If you're ready, let's dive in and get after it. So what is a short-term rental and why is it so popular? Well, first off, a short-term rental can really be anywhere. Right? It could be a condo, it could be a townhome, it could be a single family home, it could be a mansion, it could be a treehouse, it could be anything out there where people are going to vacation to or travel to and stay on a short-term basis. We're talking about 1 to maybe 7 nights, but definitely less than 28 nights. And really, they are an alternative to a hotel stay, right? Think about when you've traveled in the past. If you vacation with a family, typically you've gone somewhere and you've stayed at a hotel. And that's served its purpose, but how comfortable is it putting 4 people in a hotel room? If you have kids and parents, it becomes challenging. One of the coolest commercials out there is an Airbnb commercial that shows people staying at a hotel, then it contrasts that with them staying at an Airbnb where kids are upstairs, parents are downstairs. That is a much better scenario. And if you think of probably the last 3 or 4 vacations you've been on, chances are you stayed at an Airbnb. And here's why. We want to experience something. There was a book written years ago called The Experience Economy, and it talked about the different economies we've been through over the last 6, 7 decades, and we are currently in the experience economy. We want to experience something, right? If you think about in the day, you used to go buy a teddy bear for your kids, but now you can go to Build-A-Bear and you can actually build a teddy bear with your kid. You're gonna pay a lot more money, but the experience of building and making your own teddy bear, that supersedes buying a teddy bear, right? And there's a lot of things like that where we want to experience something rather than just buying something. And it's no different in the travel industry. If you can go somewhere and stay at a nice place in an area and experience the community like a local and in something that is very unique and interesting and creates the experience that much better is amazing. I'm also a huge believer in investing in experiences. And a lot of people have that same mindset. And Airbnbs, short-term rentals, vacation rentals, those create experiences that are lasting forever. Another factor for their popularity is they absolutely are money makers. If you look at the difference between a long-term rental versus a short-term rental, chances are you're going to make more money in a short-term rental than you would in a long-term rental. Now, there are factors that are involved in that, which I'll dive into, but let's take a strategy called Airbnb arbitrage. That is where you have a long-term rental and you're paying a long-term rent for that, but you're turning around and renting it out at a short-term rate. Now, obviously you have to have the approval from the building and the HOA to be able to do that, but there are places that definitely allow that. And why would the landlord even allow that? Well, number one, you are going to be cleaning this thing spotless every 3, 4, or 5 days, and you're paying the rent on time. Who wouldn't want that scenario? But if you're paying $2,000 a month for a nice apartment, it's maybe a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, or 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and you're able to rent it out on an average of $200 a night, and even if it's occupied just 20 nights out of the month, that's 65% of the time. 200 times 20 is $4,000. You're paying $2,000 for a long-term rent, but making $4,000 on an arbitrage where you're leasing it out short-term. Short-term rentals are a great strategy to build wealth. I'll tell you this interesting thing. I have a short-term rental up close to Yellowstone National Park, and I used to own an apartment complex. And I remember pulling in $25,000 a month from that apartment complex. My best month ever on a short-term rental was $38,000 just this last summer up close to Yellowstone. And the ironic thing, that was 1 door. My apartment buildings were 40 doors. And so I had less management with this one versus 40 problems with the other one. So that's one of the main reasons for their popularity is People want to experience them. People want a vacation and travel. I think the demand for travel is definitely not going down. If you look at the tourism numbers, they're starting to go up, and they've been explosive since COVID, right? People felt a little bit bottled up, and now that that's over and they can travel, people want to travel, especially the younger generation. The data is showing that millennials want to travel more and experience more. That is one thing that's important to them. So the demand for these places is definitely not going down, and the fact that they make money is also crucial. Now let's talk about how do you find these amazing properties that you can make massive wealth from. The first thing you need to do is study the area, look at the demographics, right? You need to look at some of the tourism and vacation data surrounding the area. Obviously, you're buying a home in the area, you want to make sure that there are enough annual visitors or people that are traveling there to where you're going to have people that want to rent out your vacation rental property or short-term rental. So one piece of data I usually start with is annual visitors. Now, if I were to ask you what national park in the United States do you think gets the most annual visitors? And I've asked people this before, many people say, oh, Yellowstone National Park or Yosemite National Park. But what if I told you there was a national park that had almost 3.5 times the amount of visitors that Yellowstone and Yosemite have? Yosemite and Yellowstone have close to 3.5 to 4 million. The number one is the Smoky Mountain National Forest, and that gets about 13 million annual visitors every single year and has probably for the last 20 years. And that's the data that you want to see when you're looking at sustainable areas to buy short-term rentals. And you might say, well, where do you find this data? A simple Google search will tell you all you want to know about the tourism numbers in certain areas, and doing that is going to give you a really good picture to help you realize and understand, do you want to investigate this area more? And I think that's why you've seen so many short-term rentals popping up around Smoky Mountains National Forest, like Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, or Cherokee, North Carolina, or Bryson City. Second thing is you want to do a deeper dive into the data and really analyze that. And the best place to do that is a website called AirDNA, airdna.co. When I first started looking at short-term rentals about 4 years ago, I used the free version of AirDNA, which you can still use today. I would go look at the markets that I was interested in, and I would look to see what is the average annual revenue that's coming in from short-term rentals in that area. I would want to understand what the occupancy rate on average was. Some places have 40, 50%, others have 60, 70, 80% occupancy rate. That's going to be important. And I've never seen an area or a home that had 100% occupancy rate. Well, I take it back. There is a place close to Joshua Tree National Forest called the Rabbit House that is designed with a rabbit in mind and a bunch of cool features that has been rented out on average about 99% of the time since it came into existence. But understand that is very rare. But looking at occupancy rates is very important. So annual average revenue, occupancy rate, and average nightly rate. What are people paying on average per night to stay in that area? You can get all that data from AirDNA. Now, another cool thing is AirDNA now has an AI score where they take the data and they compile all of it and they give you a score based on 1 to 100. And obviously the closer to 100 it is, the better AI score. Now, there is one caveat with AirDNA or anytime you're analyzing using software. It takes in obviously the lowest and the highest and gives an average. There are some pockets in some areas that really rock it. And if you want to pay extra money for AirDNA, it'll allow you to get down to some of those sub-markets to give you that data. Now, as you start looking into short-term rentals, here are some other vital things that you need to consider when you're looking at areas. Number one is regulation. This is an evolving situation where there are both sides of the coin. Understand when short-term rentals start to pop up in an area, they become popular. Many people want to own short-term rentals. Many builders want to build short-term rentals because they can sell them quickly at a profit. But what happens if it becomes oversaturated? It becomes a challenge for everybody involved, or it could put a strain on the community, or the residents who've lived there a long time start to get frustrated and they don't like that. So it is a careful balance of understanding how far to go with regulations and how easy to be. But you've got to understand regulations. The short-term rental I own close to Yellowstone National Park, they've been having a debate about how many people per bedroom can stay in short-term rentals. Because you have some cabins up there that are 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but they have a loft upstairs that has bunk beds, and they market it saying that 15 to 20 people can stay there, but it has put an absolute strain on the sewer systems in that area because you have 15 to 20 people using the bathrooms that are meant really to have maybe 5 or 6. And so the county is saying we're only going to allow 3 people per bedroom to stay in these places. So a 2-bedroom, 2-bath can allow 6 people. Now, it hasn't been approved yet, but it's something that's an ongoing discussion. So understanding these regulations is really important. The second thing is pretty obvious. Can you afford the area? If your budget is $400,000 and you're looking at an area that the average home price is $600,000, you might need to look elsewhere. You also need to see if there's active listings. Are there short-term rentals in the area? I like to secret shop and go in there as if I'm going to stay there and see what's available. And if there's a ton of places that are available, or if you look at one place in particular and they have an open calendar for a long period of time, that might be an indicator that the demand might not be there. So So looking at active listings is really important. The other thing you need to consider is optimal size, right? If you're going to an area like close to Yellowstone, there's a lot of family reunions and a lot of people that travel up there from Utah that have big families, and even in Idaho. So we have a 7-bedroom, 6-bath, and it rents out really well because that's what people are looking for. But you might go in an area where a 2-bedroom, 2-bath is exactly what people want. Making sure you understand optimal size, optimal beds and bath is really important. Now let's talk about analyzing short-term rentals financially. Here is the general rule of thumb. This is a great litmus test to see if you should even analyze it even further. And to analyze it further, you might want to consider a short-term rental calculator where you put in all the data, the expenses, and it spits out to you whether it's a good deal or not. But here is the litmus test that I always use. I want annual revenue from that short-term rental to be at least 10% of the purchase price. If it's not that, I won't even look at it. If it is that, I might look into it even further to see if I can enhance those numbers. But if you can get annual revenue, it is 15% of the purchase price, that's a good deal. That's something I would really consider. But even better than that, if you can get annual rents to be at least 20% of the purchase price, that is a fantastic deal. I've only done one that's fit in that category in Orlando, and it has been the best performing short-term rental that I own currently in my portfolio. I have others that are at 15, 16, 17, and one that's just below 15. But it is awesome when you get that because they are money makers and game changers. Now, as I mentioned, that is just the litmus test. To do a deeper dive, you'd probably want a short-term rental calculator. Now, here's one of the key things when you are looking at considering buying or building a short-term rental is you need to do something that will set it apart. I am just telling you that the demand for short-term rental is so great that a lot of people have bought them, and it's created so much competition that if you do not do something to set yours apart, you are not going to see the results that you want. And I will tell you that people still have a demand to rent short-term rentals, to stay at these places, but you have to do a couple different things. One, it has to be a unique property in a unique location, or you have to do something to enhance the property. Stuff that people, amenities that people absolutely want. For example, our home in Blue Ridge, Georgia, it has the most amazing views of the sunset that I've ever seen that are unobstructed. And it is the second home of a dead-end street that's up in the mountains. That will never go away. Because of that, people go there to get away. They feel like they're completely out in the wilderness. They see the sunset over the Blue Ridge Mountains, and that blue-orange hue is just amazing. That is a unique property that will never change, and it is done really well. Other things you might need to consider putting amenities in the property. A hot tub is an absolute must. Understand Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Smoky Mountain area, it is highly competitive up there. And I saw a gentleman who was selling one of his short-term rentals there, and he had put like a little train track around the yard that little kids could ride on. That thing had some of the best numbers that I've ever seen on a short-term rental just by doing something small like that. I know people that put like golf simulations in their basement or do other things to enhance the property. Anything you can do, even investing $10,000, $20,000 to get some of the best amenities out there is going to be well worth it. Finally, one of the coolest things about short-term rentals is the tax benefit. There's something called the short-term rental loophole, where you receive probably the best tax deductions and benefits by owning short-term rentals than any other real estate. Now, obviously, I'd consult with an accountant or a real estate attorney on that, but I've done videos that explain that, and they have been so advantageous to lower your taxable income that it is something to consider as far as building wealth when it comes to real estate. Because building wealth is twofold, right? It's keeping the money and not paying so much out, and short-term rentals can really help you do that. Understanding the short-term rental market and economy, you are taking advantage of the experience economy. Plus, short-term rentals are so cool, vacation rentals, you can go stay there yourself as your family in the off times. And that obviously reduces money you're paying to stay somewhere else or at a hotel. They are a fantastic tool to help you experience stuff, but also make money in doing it. So take advantage of this amazing strategy. I am such a believer in short-term rentals and vacation rentals that I want to help those that might be on the fence or unsure. So if you click on this link below, aaronsfreetraining.com, I am going to give you my full Airbnb course for free. It's normally a couple $100. It is absolutely free, and included in this course is my short-term rental calculator for free, where you put in all of the data, the expenses, the price of the home, all of the income that comes in from the home, and it'll spit out to you whether it's a good deal or not. And it's a full course explaining how to do Airbnbs and short-term rentals. Just click on this link below, aaronsfreetraining.com. Thanks for stopping by. Have an amazing day.